Good afternoon, welcome to News Around Africa on Channel 38, Facebook and YouTube channel. Detained Uganda opposition leader Kizza Besigye has been hospitalized in an unresponsive state after he collapsed during a court hearing on Wednesday, according to his wife. Besigye, who has been in prison since late 2024, on treason charges, is now unconscious, unable to speak, and unresponsive, his wife Winnie Byanyima said in a post on X on Thursday. He has been admitted to the intensive care unit at Mulago National Referral Hospital in the capital Kampala, added Winnie Byanyima, who also heads the United Nations AIDS program. Byanyima has cancelled for her husband to be transferred out of Mulago Hospital, a public facility, and into a private facility where his personal physician can treat him. Family is saying he needs special treatment and they do not trust the government hospital, reported Al Jazeera's Catherine Soy from Nairobi in neighboring Kenya. There is a lot of frustration. The court has not granted that permission for him to be transferred. Not responding to anything, Besigye, 70, was seen falling into the dock during his Wednesday courtroom session while protesting against his trial without lawyers of his own choosing, after authorities also detained and charged his main lawyer, Elias Lukwago. Before he collapsed, he cried out that he was being injured, said Byanyima. Safia Musa's sewing machine has given her something violence had taken away, a way to provide for her children. But the livelihood she built after losing her husband and two of her children has left her facing a painful choice: whether to return home or risk losing the fragile independence she has created after being forced to flee. Safia cannot remember which month it was, only that it was 2023 when armed bandits raided the town of Kankara in Katsina State, where she and her husband had built their life after moving from their hometown of Batsari. Kankara is a small rural community where farms sit close to homes, and her husband worked as a farmer and foodstuffs trader. They lived there with their two youngest children, Umar, 4 years old, and Mariam, 6 years old, while their 3-year-old children, Sani, Hajara, and Zubaidu, were staying with relatives in Batsari. The attackers had come to kidnap the town head, but the attempt failed. As gunfire spread through the community, Safia locked herself inside her room while Umar and Mariam were outside playing with other children. Her husband had left for the farm when the attack happened. The bandits killed about 20 people as they left the town. 3 days later, after she had learned that her husband had also been killed during the attack, she fled to Batsari, where she was reunited with Sani, Hajara, and Zubaida. When another bandit attack reached Batsari, she fled again with her 3 surviving children, now aged 15, 13, and 11, to Jibia, where they eventually settled in a camp for displaced people. In Ghana, a major fault on Ghana's national power grid has triggered widespread outages, leaving the capital Accra, the commercial hub of Kumasi, and much of North without electricity. Several power plants across the West African nations were forced to shut down in the early hours of Wednesday morning, the state-run power distribution company said. Our engineers and system operators are working continuously without compromising safety, Ghana Grid Company Limited has said in its statement. Ghana has had regular power shortages for years, popularly known as dumso, meaning on and off in the Akan language. But the situations have been improving. Wednesday's power cut has left homes, business, and essential services without electricity across multiple regions of the country. Many computers had problems getting to work as those whose phones were not charged had difficulty paying for transport, and in some cases, ordering taxis through apps such as Uber. It has also affected small businesses and people relying on digital services, though big institutions such as hospitals tend to have backup generators. Gridco said it was conducting a comprehensive technical investigation to determine the outage cause. It did not say how long it would normally take for supplies to resume. Ghana, one of the world's biggest producers of both gold and cacao, has in recent years started using gas to generate electricity to help with demands as the population grows and becomes more urbanized. Most of the country's electricity is generated by aging hydropower plants, which have suffered from poor maintenance over years. The addition of gas has eased power cuts, but the sector remains vulnerable to transmission failures and fuel supplies interruptions. In Sudan City, thousands of people who have poured into the city of El Obeid, hoping to find shelter from Sudan's raging civil war, have found themselves under threat again, amid warnings that paramilitary fighters are preparing to descend on the army-controlled city. Clashes between the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) and the military have escalated in the North Kordofan region, a critical target for both sides in the conflict, which could open a gateway into contested territory. Displaced people have flocked to El Obeid, which remains heavily defended by the Sudanese military, despite ongoing strikes being carried out on the city as paramilitary forces advances. The UN's International Organization for Migration, IOM, said it has become a key refuge for people escaping ongoing violence in the surrounding areas. Satellite imagery shows the main displacement camp has expanded significantly since March, with aid workers reporting dozens of new arrivals every day. Families have gone out of safe options to protect themselves. Mohamed Rafat, IOM Chief of Mission in Sudan, said many have already been displaced before and are once again forced to leave their homes behind, livelihoods and support networks. The UN and G7 foreign ministers have now issued warnings that the RSF may be preparing to attack the city, raising fears that atrocities akin to those seen during the massacre in El Fasher could be repeated. Thousands of people were killed in mass executions after the paramilitary overran SAF troops defending the city last October, in one of the worst atrocities since the civil war began in 2023. Fears of similar reprisals occurring in El Obeid have grown for weeks, and verified footage now shows dozens of heavily armed RSF troops in armored trucks stationed in Niala, a key nearby stronghold, vowing to liberate the city. That's all we have time for on this edition of News Around Africa on Channel 38, Facebook and YouTube channel. I am Esther Wilson.